My wife told me if I couldn't handle her girls' nights with her ex-boyfriend, maybe we weren't right for each other. I told her she was right. We weren't. What she didn't know was that I'd already seen the hotel receipts. And what happened next? She never saw it coming. Look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was the perfect husband. Nobody is, but I was a good one. My name is Damon, and for 4 years I thought I had it all figured out. I'm a commercial airline pilot, which sounds more glamorous than it actually is. The reality? I'm gone 2 weeks, home 1 week, repeat until retirement. But the money's good, and it gave my wife Sienna and me the kind of life we'd always dreamed about. Downtown loft with floor 2-sling windows. It's a kind of place where you can see the city lights stretching out like a blanket of stars. We were that couple everyone envied on social media. Perfect vacations, perfect smiles, perfect everything. Sienna worked as a marketing director for a luxury hotel chain. Smart, ambitious, beautiful. When I met her 6 years ago, she was exactly what I thought I needed. We balanced each other out, or at least that's what I told myself. I was the steady one, the planner. She was spontaneous, full of life. Our friends called us relationship goals. Her parents loved me. My parents adored her. We had the blueprint for happily ever after, or so I thought. The first crack appeared on a Tuesday night in March. I'd been scheduled for a 2-week rotation flying international routes, but a mechanical issue grounded the flight. Instead of being halfway to Tokyo, I was pulling into our parking garage at 8 p.m. I remember feeling excited about surprising Sienna, maybe ordering her favorite Thai food, watching a movie together. The little moments, you know? Those were always my favorite. When I walked through the door, she was standing in front of the full-length mirror in our bedroom, and I stopped dead in my tracks. The dress she was wearing wasn't the usual casual outfit for girls' night. This was different. Black fitted. The kind of dress you wear when you want someone to notice you. Her makeup was heavier than normal, and she'd curled her hair the way she used to when we first started dating. She jumped when she saw me, actually physically jumped, and her hand went to her chest. "You're home early," she said, and there was something in her voice I'd never heard before. Not quite guilt, but close. Surprise, mixed with annoyance. "Flight got canceled," I explained, dropping my bag by the door. "What's going on?" "You look amazing." She turned back to the mirror, adjusting her earrings. "Just girls' night. You know how it is." She wouldn't meet my eyes in the reflection. "In that dress?" I tried to keep my tone light, playful even, but something was nagging at me. That's when she said it, casual as anything. "Landon's going to be there with the group. You remember Landon, right?" Of course I remembered Landon. Her ex-boyfriend from college. The one she'd dated for 3 years before they mutually decided to go their separate ways. She'd mentioned him maybe twice in our entire relationship, always in passing, always ancient history. And now he was going to be at girls' night. I didn't sleep that night. I just kept replaying the conversation in my head, analyzing every word, every facial expression, every defensive tone in her voice. "If you don't like me clubbing with my ex, maybe we should take a break." That's what she'd said when I pressed her about it. Not, "I'm sorry you're uncomfortable." Not, "Let's talk about boundaries." Just a straight-up ultimatum designed to make me feel like the problem. Like I was the crazy, controlling husband for having concerns about my wife partying with her ex-boyfriend while I was 30,000 feet in the air, completely oblivious. Something shifted in me that night. I stopped arguing. I stopped explaining. I just went quiet, and that seemed to satisfy her. She thought silence meant surrender. She had no idea it meant strategy. 2 days later, I told her maybe she was right about needing space. I packed a bag and checked into a hotel near the airport. Told her I needed time to think about whether I was being unreasonable. The relief on her face told me everything I needed to know. She didn't fight for me. She didn't try to convince me to stay. She just nodded and said, "I think that's probably best." I used my airline connections to find someone who could help me. A private investigator named Richard, former FBI, recommended by a captain I'd known for 15 years. I felt sick doing it, like I was betraying something sacred about our marriage. But then I reminded myself she'd already done that part. Richard called me 4 days later. "You're going to want to sit down for this," he said, and my stomach dropped to the floor. The evidence was worse than I'd imagined. Sienna had been booking hotel rooms at her own company's properties using her employee discount. The sheer stupidity of it almost made me laugh. She was documenting her own affair with corporate records. Every single girls' night for the past 8 months, there was Landon's name right next to hers on the guest registry. Companion bookings, couples packages, room service for 2 charged to our joint credit card. I sat in that hotel room staring at printed receipts and felt something inside me go completely numb. 8 months. Our 3rd anniversary had been 9 months ago. We'd gone to Hawaii. I'd written her a letter telling her she was my forever. And apparently, 3 weeks later, she'd started sleeping with Landon again. Richard sent over more text messages recovered from cloud backup that Sienna had forgotten to disable. I read them all, every single one, even though each word felt like swallowing glass. They talked about me, called me boring, predictable, to trusting for his own good. There was one message that broke something fundamental in me. Sienna had written, "He's never around anyway. We're basically roommates with papers. At least you make me feel alive." Didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I didn't call her screaming. I just sat there in that sterile hotel room and realized the woman I'd married didn't exist anymore. Maybe she never had. And that's when I stopped being the victim of this story and started being the architect of what came next. I met with a divorce attorney the next morning. Her name was Fiona Cross, and she had a reputation for being absolutely ruthless in court. The kind of lawyer who could smell weakness and exploited it without mercy. When I walked into her office with 3 folders full of evidence, she actually smiled. Not a friendly smile. A predator's smile. "Mr. Damon," she said, flipping through hotel receipts and text message transcripts. "Your wife made this remarkably easy for us." She explained it in terms I'll never forget. This wasn't just infidelity. This was financial fraud. Sienna had used our joint credit cards to fund an 8-month affair. Every romantic dinner with Landon, every hotel room, every bottle of champagne charged to the account I worked 60-hour weeks to maintain. In our state, that changes everything about how assets get divided. But here's where it gets interesting. During the asset review, going through every piece of property we owned together, Fiona found something I'd completely forgotten about. A small commercial space I'd bought 5 years ago in what was then a sketchy neighborhood. I'd paid $80,000 for it, planned to flip it eventually, but life got busy and I just held on to it. Sienna always dismissed it as worthless, called it my money pit, told me to just sell it and be done with it. Fiona had it appraised. $400,000. The neighborhood had exploded with development. Coffee shops, boutique stores, young professionals moving in. My forgotten investment had become worth 5 times what I'd paid. And suddenly, Sienna's constant pressure to sell it made perfect sense. Fiona did some digging and discovered the buyer Sienna kept mentioning. The one who'd supposedly pay cash for a quick sale? Was a business partner of Landon's. They were planning to buy it from me for a fraction of its value, flip it themselves, and pocket the difference. My wife wasn't just cheating on me. She was actively scheming to rob me. The betrayal had layers I hadn't even discovered yet. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to confront her in anger. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of seeing me broken. I was going to do something far more effective. I was going to let her think she'd won. I went home that afternoon with an Academy Award-worthy performance prepared. Told Sienna the break had given me perspective, that I'd been controlling and jealous, that I was sorry for overreacting about Landon. I watched her face carefully. First, suspicion, then relief, then something that made my blood run cold: smugness. She actually thought she'd broken me down, trained me to accept her disrespect. "I'm so glad you finally understand," she said, touching my arm like nothing had happened. "Landon is just a friend. You have nothing to worry about." I smiled and nodded. Then I casually mentioned I was thinking about finally selling that commercial property, just getting rid of it cheap so I didn't have to deal with it anymore. Her eyes lit up like Christmas morning. "That's such a good idea," she said, way too enthusiastically. "I can help you with the paperwork if you want." She was taking the bait, and I was documenting every single manipulative word. For 2 weeks, I played the role of the reformed, understanding husband, while Fiona documented every manipulation attempt Sienna made regarding the property sale. Sienna got bolder during this time, less careful. She started taking calls with Landon in the next room instead of hiding outside. She'd come home smelling like cologne that wasn't mine and not even bother to shower before bed. The audacity of it was almost impressive. Then she planned the weekend getaway. A luxury couples resort upstate, the kind with private hot tubs and champagne on arrival. She booked it under her own name while I was supposedly on a flight rotation. Except I wasn't flying that weekend. I'd traded shifts specifically to be home, and she'd gotten so comfortable in her lies that she'd synced the booking confirmation to our shared iPad. I found it on a Thursday evening, printed it out, sat on our couch and waited for her to come home. When she walked through the door, I was completely calm. The calmness seemed to unsettle her more than if I'd been yelling. "Hey," I said, holding up the paper. "Want to tell me about this romantic spa weekend you've got planned?" Her face went through about 5 different expressions in 3 seconds. That's a work retreat. Marketing team, bonding? Really? Because it says couples package. And it's booked under Sienna and Landon. I watched her try to formulate another lie. Don't. I know about all of it. Every hotel, every dinner, every lie you've told me for the past 8 months. The mask finally dropped. No more innocent victim, no more misunderstood wife. What I saw on her face was pure venom. "You spied on me? You actually hired someone to spy on me?" "You used our credit card to fund your affair," I said, still calm. "Did you think I wouldn't notice?" That's when she started screaming. Really screaming? About how I was never home. How Landon actually paid attention to her. How lonely she'd been. "Maybe if you were a better husband, I wouldn't need someone else. Maybe if you actually cared about my needs instead of your precious career, none of this would have happened." I let her rage. Let her blame me for her choices. Let her make excuses and justifications. And when she finally ran out of steam, when she pointed at the door and said, "If you're going to be like this, maybe we should just get divorced," I reached into my bag and pulled out the papers. "Funny you should mention that," I said, placing the divorce documents on the coffee table between us. I had these drawn up 2 weeks ago. The color drained from her face so fast, I thought she might faint. "What?" "I know about the property scheme, too. You and Landon's partner trying to buy my investment for pennies on the dollar so you could flip it yourselves. That's fraud, Sienna. You tried to steal $320,000 from me to fund your affair." I stood up, looked her directly in the eyes. "Sign the papers. We're done." She didn't sign that night. She tried everything: Sierra's apologies, promises to end things with Landon, even seduction. But I'd already moved out permanently, and Fiona filed the papers the next morning. Fault-based divorce with evidence of infidelity and financial fraud attached. In our state, that changes everything. The legal devastation came first. Sienna lost any claim to the commercial property and had to reimburse the joint account for every affair expense. We're talking thousands of dollars charged to romantic dinners, hotels, weekend trips. The judge wasn't sympathetic to her excuses. But the financial hit was just the beginning. Her parents found out. Conservative, traditional people who'd raised Sienna with strong values about marriage and commitment. I didn't tell them, Sienna's sister did, after I'd shown her the evidence. The family relationship she'd had, the one where she was the golden child who could do no wrong, shattered overnight. Her mother wouldn't speak to her for months. Her father told her she'd embarrassed the entire family. Then came the professional consequences, and this is where karma really showed up to work. Sienna's hotel chain employer launched an internal investigation after the divorce filing. It became semi-public among our mutual friends. Someone sent an anonymous tip about her misuse of employee discounts. Corporate policy was crystal clear: using company rates for personal affairs, especially involving a competitor's employee, was grounds for disciplinary action. Landon worked for a rival hotel chain. Conflict of interest didn't even begin to cover it. Sienna received an official reprimand that went in her permanent file. The promotion she'd been grooming for. The regional director position that would have doubled her salary went to someone else. She had to sit in that office knowing everyone knew what she'd done. But here's the part that almost made me feel sorry for her. Almost, Landon ghosted her the moment real consequences started hitting. Blocked her number, unfollowed her on social media, acted like she didn't exist. She tried confronting him at a restaurant where he was having dinner. I heard about it from a mutual friend who witnessed the whole thing. She demanded to know why he wasn't answering her calls, why he'd abandoned her when she'd lost everything for him. His response? You're being clingy and dramatic. It was just fun. You knew that. She'd destroyed her marriage, her family relationships, her professional reputation, all for a man who'd never actually cared about her. He just wanted what was convenient and exciting. The second it became complicated, he was gone. Meanwhile, I sold the commercial property at full market value, $400,000. Used a chunk of it as a down payment on a mountain cabin I'd always dreamed about. It's a kind of place with a wraparound porch and views that stretch for miles. Sienna ended up having to move out of our downtown loft because she couldn't afford it alone on her now stagnant salary. Last I heard, she was in a modest one-bedroom apartment in the suburbs. It's a kind of place we used to drive past and feel grateful we'd made it. 6 months after our divorce finalized, Landon got engaged to the other woman he'd apparently been seeing the entire time. A year later, I'm standing on the deck of my mountain cabin watching the sun come up over the ridge, coffee in hand, and I realize something profound. I'm happy. Not the performative happiness Sienna and I used to post on social media, but real, deep in your bones, contentment. The kind you can't fake. The cabin became my sanctuary. I spent months fixing it up, learning carpentry from YouTube videos, painting walls, building furniture. Every nail I hammered in felt like I was rebuilding myself too. I got promoted to captain, which meant better routes and more control over my schedule. I joined a hiking club and rediscovered how much I loved being outdoors, something I had abandoned during my marriage because Sienna hated bugs and dirt. I reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with, the ones who'd slowly faded away because Sienna never liked them. Then came the encounter I'd been half expecting, half dreading. I was walking through the airport terminal in uniform, heading to my gate. When I saw her, Sienna, she was pulling a carry-on business attire, looking tired in a way that went beyond just lack of sleep. She looked older somehow, like the weight of everything had settled into her features. Our eyes met, and there was nowhere to hide. Damon, she said, stopping in front of me. Hey. I kept my voice polite but distant. The anger I'd carried for months had evaporated somewhere along the way, replaced by something closer to indifference. We made awkward small talk for a minute. She asked about work. I asked about hers. Then her facade cracked just slightly, and I saw something raw in her eyes. You look good, she said quietly. Happy I am. She swallowed hard. I destroyed the best thing in my life, didn't I? Landon was nothing, just excitement and ego. But you were everything I actually needed, and I threw it away for nothing. There was a time when hearing her say that would have meant something, when I might have felt vindicated, or even tempted. But standing there in that airport, I just felt ... nothing. I hope you find what you're looking for, Sienna, but it won't be with me. Her eyes filled with tears, but I didn't stay to watch them fall. I had a flight to catch. Here's what I learned from all of it. Trusting your instincts isn't insecurity, it's self-respect. When someone makes you feel crazy for having reasonable boundaries, that's not love. That's manipulation. And when someone tells you to take a break because you won't tolerate their disrespect, take the break permanently. I'm seeing someone now. Victoria, a fellow pilot I met through work. It's different this time. Built on honesty, mutual respect, actual communication. No games, no ultimatums, no wondering where I stand. Just two people choosing each other every single day. Sienna did me a favor when she said we should take a break. She was right, we weren't right for each other. I just took the break permanently, and I've never looked back. If this story taught you anything about trusting your gut and knowing your worth, smash that like button and subscribe.